Good evening. It is Monday, January 8th, 2024. Welcome to episode 45 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. Joining me tonight is Rebecca.
Hello.
Yeah, how are you, Rebecca?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Day started out a little rough, but we got things sorted out, and we're moving in the right direction. And since it's the start of the new year and it's our first live stream together, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of talk about some of the things that we've got as goals and aspirations for this upcoming year. And then we'll also get into a little bit of Q&A. And tonight's main topic, we'll be talking about the Great Migration, particularly as it relates to the migration away from the state of California. I think that's a topic that has a lot of relevance, even if you don't live in this state. And we're going to be covering some of the reasons why people are leaving and touching upon a few of the new laws that just went into effect January 1st here. And, in my opinion, I don't necessarily agree with them, but, maybe somebody listening might have a different opinion. I don't know.
I tend to agree with you. I don't agree with the laws.
Right. But be it as it may, we're going to press forward and get into some of the goals that we had for this year. I think it's really kind of one of those things that's important to do personally for myself, and, to be able to commit to something, put it on paper, and go back and kind of revisit that throughout the year, because it's so easy to just allow things to come into your life and draw your focus away. And so I like to put certain things down on a piece of paper, and then like quarterly, we'll go back and we will, review those just to check our progress. Because if you don't do that, the next thing you know, it's September, and then you'll be wondering about, what did you actually get done? So, I kind of broke my goals down for the year, and in like 3 different areas. One being this channel, Porterhouse and Teal, and the other being the homestead, which in reality, those two things are kind of interwoven, because in order to be somebody who's creating content, be a content creator, you have to kind of build it into your life. And it's something that I have committed to doing, and we create content here on the homestead. So both of those things are kind of commingled, even though there's certain things that I've established as goals for this channel and little benchmarks that I want to achieve. I don't really think there's something that I necessarily need to publicly state, but what I will state and commit to is being consistent in the delivery of the content that comes from this channel. And I think that's important, because people that tune in are going to have the expectation that that content is going to either be there, as far as the frequency is concerned. So expect every Saturday morning, you're going to see a long form video coming from this channel at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is something I've been able to deliver on throughout this entire year. And I'm going to continue to commit to that. So that's something that you can expect moving forward. But I also think the frequency of upload is important, but as well, the consistency of the quality of the content. And one of the themes that I have on this channel is kind of be better tomorrow than you were today. And that's the way that I look at making content, because I want to try to improve upon the content that I'm making. Every video that I make, I want to make it better than the one before it. It doesn't always seem like it works out that way.
Sure it does.
with how it goes, because some content is well received and others is not. But that's my intent, and that's what I'm trying to commit to, because over time, being that 0.5% or 1% better each time has an incredible compounding effect that, you you got to start somewhere. And essentially that's kind of the way that I look at it. Hey, how's it going, Terminator? Good to see you. Hope things are well up your way. I understand you lost a bird the other day that, don't know exactly what happened there, but I saw your post on that. And, yeah, that's unfortunate. We had a bird that we lost not too long ago too. And that was kind of a mistake of our own. And it's since been corrected, but this bird wound up pinning itself in between the fence and the coop because it was trying to get into the coop, because Rebecca didn't see that the coop, or excuse me, that bird was not in the coop, and it spent the night there pinned between the fence. And, you know, it wound up dropping an egg right there. And when we actually got it extricated from that, we learned that it had pretty severely prolapsed itself. So that was a bird that I had to process that day. So yeah, it's just one of those things that happen on the farm. You know, mistakes are made and lessons are learned. And yeah, hope things are well with you up there, though. I know it's been cold. It's been cold our way, hasn't it?
It has been cold. I have to say about that bird, though, I looked all over, not thinking that it could squeeze between a coop and the fence, and kind of overlooked that thought.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised it even got in there.
Yeah. Well, see, the way it was it was bigger on one end that narrower on the other. So it wound up going in there and it got itself wedged in. And then, you know, it was pretty much a wrap from there. Spent the night there, and then it had, you know, I guess it must have struggled or something and forced it to prolapse. But yeah, it's cold today. I think you'll probably laugh at us because it got down to 32 last night. And for us, that's cold. So yeah, it is what it is. Zone 9A, we live here. So it's pretty temperate. Good evening, Dean Mullis. Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. And good afternoon from Queensland, Australia, Wade Torrisi.
Wow.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks. Pierogi, I hope I'm saying that right. Says your content is great and always enjoy looking forward to seeing your videos. Yeah, I think thank you for that. You know, we receive an awful lot of nice comments from people on the channel, and that's so nice to see, because when you're putting content out there, you're trying to put out something that people like. You don't always know if it's going to be well received, and there's a lot of competition out there for your attention. So for people to tune into this channel and, you know, have the thoughtfulness to say, hey, thanks for your effort, don't think that isn't well received on my end, because it absolutely is. I've answered all of my comments that I've had. There hasn't really been one that I haven't answered directly, with the exception of people who are assholes. Because if you're going to be on the channel and you're going to be an asshole, then you're going to get dismissed from the channel. I don't tolerate that. But yeah, I really appreciate those kind of comments, because it really does matter. So another thing as it relates to the channel that I do want to mention is, last year I had said that I wanted to kind of start like a podcast, right? So these broadcasts, these live stream broadcasts, get put over to our audio content on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, and one more. But I think that's an important thing to do, so that we have that ability to have other platforms and, you know, for people to consume our content. And that's something that I want to try to continue to build upon moving forward. I'm still in search of finding out the best format for this content. And it's just going to be something that kind of evolves over time. I'm not in a huge hurry to, you know, make a bunch of changes, but we're kind of moving forward, and hopefully we can, you know, kind of just make things a little bit better, you know, as we move forward. And another aspect of what I wanted to get accomplished this year, because last year I was actually a little delinquent. I was not as attentive to it as I had hoped to be. And that is to creating like a farm store on our website. And I've done some updating of the website, as far as, you know, reworking the front page and just moving a few things around. Our website is very simple, It's not something that's super elaborate, but it provides people an opportunity and a landing page so that they can come there and figure out a way to contact us. But we wanted to also put out some kind of product from the standpoint of being a producer rather than just a consumer. And I think that that's super important. And one of the things that I did is we've opened up what we're calling the farm store. And at this point, we really only have one item in there, and it's comfrey. And it's not as if you couldn't go and get comfrey from a lot of other people. And if that's what you want to do, that's super cool. I would encourage you to do that. But one of the things that I wanted to do is offer this up to people at a little bit of a discount for the exchange of cash, check, or Satoshis, because I think it's important to operate in the gray market as much as we possibly can. You know, we could set it up, and eventually we will set it up so that it has all of the places you can go and just swipe your card. But I also think it's important to do business person to person so that we can cut that middleman out as much as possible. Cut out taxation, cut out any processing fees, cut out any of those things that are completely unnecessary when you're dealing with this sort of thing. So that's something that's currently up on the website, and I'll bring it up here so you can see, and I'll talk about the process of how you would go ahead and interact with us as far as purchasing something. So let me pull this up real quick. Right here. And then boom, there's the page with comfrey page in the farm store. And we're selling Bocking 14, and we're selling them for $1.75 for the small root cuttings. We have a $20 minimum. So essentially you're going to get 12 cuttings for the $20, whereas most places you're going to get 2 less than that. So it's not a huge savings. It's not maybe even something you want to interact with us in that way, but we do want to offer that up. And here's how basically you would order if in fact you wanted to do that. Go on this page, and right here what you see highlighted is make sure it's up. Yep. Basically send us an email with the number and type of comfrey you'd like, and upon receiving that, I will send you a confirmation email in return indicating how much it's going to cost you in total, and that's including shipping. And then I'll send another email upon receiving your payment and subsequent processing of your payment. I will harvest the comfrey and ship it that same day, provided it's not like, after business hours or something. And once I ship that, I will send you a confirmation email with tracking and instructions on how to plant and care for your comfrey. So very simple process. Like I said, I think it's important to be able to operate outside of the system as much as possible. And we will be adding some additional things onto this as we get things a little further down the road. Rebecca has actually made a really awesome soap that I care for quite a bit. I mean, it's pretty cool, man. It's a coffee scented soap, and I just like it. It's a scent that, like, I don't know really how to describe it other than it's kind of chocolatey, kind of coffee.
Yes.
And it's just something about it that like kind of makes, I don't know, I just like it. Yeah. But we'll be offering that as well. But at this point, it's not up there.
It's getting closer though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're working on it. What else do we have here? Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on as it relates to the channel, so to speak. Now, there are going to be things that I'll be working on the homestead, and we'll be collaborating on together on the homestead that will wind up making its way into some content, and you guys will be able to see that as it develops. But one of the big, hold on a sec before I get too far down the road here. Let me take a look and see what I'm missing on the questions here, or the comments. Let's see here. Yeah, my crooked little homestead up north there says, how is your weather? It's actually been very warm. We finally got snow. It's been green here, but we were supposed to get over a foot starting tomorrow. finally and going to be getting winter. Yeah, I saw somewhere where it said there's going to be a pretty good Arctic blast coming in. I don't know if that's actually true, but they were kind of projecting something coming down from Canada all the way down into the Midwest area. And, I don't know if that's BS or whatever, but we're supposed to be getting a tremendous amount of snow out here on the West Coast, which, has all the folks that are, thinking we're not going to get our measured rain, our measured precipitation kind of concerned, but we definitely need that.
Of course, when you talk about snow, you're not talking about it physically where we live, but
No.
We don't really get very much snow. It's happened maybe 4 times since we've lived here, I think.
Yeah.
And we've been here for 23 years.
Yeah. We got slammed last year and had a pretty good event where we saw 8 or 9 inches or something in the valley. And it was like, there was trees down everywhere. We're just not used to that sort of thing. Dean Mullis, man, you're killing me, dude. He said, I decided to watch your live stream over a rerun of Real Wives of Arkansas. Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, doing business this way is, like I say, that's how I would like to do it. I was raised and brought up with a person's word being worth something, and you do business over a handshake, and I think we've kind of gotten so far away from that it's, I don't know if we need to be that way. But like I say, I want to offer that and extend that for somebody. And hey, if you can find comfrey cheaper, go buy it there. I'm not saying you got to buy it from us, but I do think comfrey is a great thing to have on your homestead. It's a great, not only does it have medicinal properties, it's used for, livestock fodder, and it's used to mulch, and it's, it's just really good. It's a deeply tap-rooted nutrient accumulator that brings up stuff, minerals, and stuff from deep down and brings it up to the surface. So it's something that I've planted a lot of around here, and I've got enough to offer at this point. When I'm sold out, if I sell out, then I'll let you know. But it's kind of where we are on that. Also, another thing that I started last year that I didn't get a chance to finish. I'm like about 2/3 of the way, I would say, finished, and I will be working on that project probably in the fairly short, near future. I want to see that completed, but it was a project that I started last year. It's kind of an off-grid water exploration project where, the first phase was going out and seeing if it was even going to be feasible for me to do that. It was exploration. And then once I decided, it's going to possibly work out, I was going to try to capture that water. And then I captured it. And then the second phase was basically storage of that water. And so now I've got it stored in 3,000 gallon, and I want to have the ability to better distribute it. That's going to be the next phase of this, is distribution. And so I'm going to do something very simple. I'm not going to make it elaborate and do anything like that. It's just going to be like a solar panel with a 12 volt DC type of a arrangement. But I want to get this plumbed out, so I'll have the ability to deliver water when one system or another is failing. And I just really think that that's an important thing that we need to get completed around here. So I'll be working on that.
However, right now you do use it for a drip system on trees you planted. Right.
It's not being used currently because obviously we're in winter right now and I don't need to water these trees. But yes, I was using it all summer, watering about 120 trees with it. And I would open it up and it would basically just gravity flow out into these trees. And worked fine in that regard. But I want to be able to have the ability to move that water elsewhere, to either water livestock or, for our usage, have a means by which to distribute it so we can maybe grab it and filter it and do whatever. But it's I'm pretty happy with how that turned out, quite honestly, because I had no idea going in. And that's what happens a lot of times on these type of projects. You don't know. And it was a learning experience for me. In fact, I will be going to Tennessee this spring, and I will probably be talking on that particular system and that issue at Nicole's spring workshop. So I will be going to Tennessee, Living Free in Tennessee workshop in the spring. and I will be presenting there. So if that's something you guys are interested in doing, you might go on her website and see when tickets go on sale and all, and maybe we can hang out down there or something. The other thing that's like a big ticket item for us, we got a couple of big ticket items, and we got a bunch of litany of smaller things that we need to get done or whatever. But the solar, that's such a big issue for me. I'm just so damn tired of like when the utilities go out, we're without power, and it's just, we don't need to be doing this anymore. And it happens here so frequently that it just has me really concerned, that I just don't like the fact that we're at that beck and call when they decide, oh no, you're going to shut your power off, and then all of a sudden it's dark. We got to go out and set the generator up. We got to, it's just an inconvenience. So we're going to be, that process is already underway. We're going to have actually a contractor come in and do that, where we're going to be putting in Tesla power walls here. So yeah, I'm excited about that, getting that chapter somewhat closed. And then another one that I'm adding this year, because I'm just damn tired of it. But we, on the east side of our house here, there's about a 40-foot section where it should be a deck, and there hasn't been a deck for how many years now? For a very long time. I'm going to say it's anywhere between 18 to 20 years. No.
It feels that way.
It feels no. Don't believe her. Don't believe that at all.
I have to tell you before he gets into this, I looked at this deck when we bought this house. It was fine, but it was decaying, and there was just one day I couldn't take it, and I went out and I started taking boards out, and then my son joined me because he saw his poor mom out here pulling boards off, and then Eric comes and joins me, and pretty soon we have no deck because we've removed it, and unfortunately it has sat that way, and poor Eric has had to listen to me say, sure would be nice to have a deck out there.
I know that. It's just, we just got to do it. It ain't a big deal. It's just some money, right? It's just getting the money together and getting some dudes together and making it happen, and it's not that big a deal. So this year, by Thanksgiving, that's got to happen, man. So that's going to be something that she'll hold me to if I don't. Yeah. So that's a big thing. And then another thing that maybe this is something that I think a lot of people are probably this way, that you're a little bit maybe delinquent or a little too lax when it comes to certain things from the cybersecurity standpoint. But I got some information not too long ago from somebody who's kind of knowing what they're talking about as it relates to this, that cybersecurity is a big deal, and cybercrime is actually the leading industry in the country over the oil industry. It's surpassed the oil industry in the amount of money that's being extorted from companies and private citizens. And so that's something that I think, everybody could probably stand to like review and think about, but we're going to be definitely moving in that direction, because there's some things where, we're like using the same passwords for stuff and all of that sort of stuff. And, that's just asking for trouble. So we're going to get a little bit more tech savvy, if you will. We're not super tech savvy. We're just a couple of people here trying.
More so than me.
Yeah. Right on. I appreciate that, Dean. I appreciate it. Your biochar videos are always informative. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I like making char. I haven't made as much as I'd like to be making this year thus far, because I just haven't gone down and picked up the stuff, and I've had other things kind of coming into my view. But that right there speaks to what I was talking about earlier about putting things down on a list, because there's always going to be things that come into your view, whether they're just something that like is an emergency that you need to attend to, or it could possibly be just that shiny thing, right? Like, ooh, look at that. That's a shiny thing. I'm going to get distracted. And so it's so easy to do that. So biochar is one of those things that, like, I'll do it when I have the time, but there's always other priorities that kind of come in. And yeah, I appreciate that, dude. Yeah, did you have anything you wanted to touch on as far as goals of your own, or what do you got going on?
Well, we're coming into canning season, and so that's a process and ongoing, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have the same in dealing with that. And again, trying to get the soap up off the ground. We've accomplished the packaging part of it, which was kind of a challenge for me, but I've accomplished it.
Yeah. I also, I have other goals as well, which those are always standing with me. These are standing goals. I don't really like, New Year's resolution or, this year's going to be different. No, because just about every year, one of the things that's really important to me is my personal goals. And high at the top of that list is my physical fitness and, trying to eat the right things and to take care of yourself in that regard. And I think that's so easy to just overlook for a lot of people. Because it's, that takes a lot of discipline, finding time to make time to keep yourself fit and active and all those sort of things. I know in the prepping community, it's very convenient. I won't even use the word convenient. I'll just say it's the word that's, used a lot is stacking things, right? Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. And, that's what people talk about when they're prepping. And, I think that people often overlook the other thing that's very important, and that's your personal fitness and your health, nutrition, and all those things. So beans, bullets, and Band-Aids are very important too, but so is strength, endurance, and flexibility. And that's what I think a lot of preppers lack. So I want to try to continue doing the things that I know are going to keep me able to do those things that I need to do around this homestead and set a good example for, those that would look up to me. And I'm speaking specifically about my family, because I think that's where it all lies, is having your family view you in those eyes, not necessarily random people or whatever, but that's kind of my motivation there. But let's see where we're going next. Let's talk about that. Let me pull this off. Why don't you pull those questions up, and we'll get into some Q&A. I only had 2 questions actually that I was going to address, and one of them's kind of I don't think she was trolling me. I don't think she was trolling me. I think she was either just hadn't thought of, the other alternative use for an EMP shield, or maybe she's just one of those people that always thinks the worst of everything. But I will read this, and I'll read how I responded to her, because I think that I think that her question or comment warranted a decent enough response. So I tried to give that to her. But what she said, and this was related to, so I had made a kind of a couple of EMP shield videos, and she must have watched one a few weeks ago. And this is what she had said. She said, if something happens, good luck if something happens, good luck collecting from EMP shield. Have you ever thought that if it is that bad, warranties won't matter? Not dishing on them or the product, but really think about it. And yeah, there's some validity to what she says. And I'll just say that right up front, because none of us really know what happens when the world ends, right? Or something, so I get where she's kind of coming from on that, but I don't know if she had considered the other, like I say, the use of an EMP shield. And so what I had responded to her, and I said, thanks, Linda. I absolutely have thought of those worst case scenarios. And it is a funny thing about EMPs, because no one really knows what will happen after a massive EMP or CME that may cause society to collapse, because it hasn't happened yet. But what we do know is lightning is a far more common occurrence and much more of a threat to the electronic infrastructure for the average person. The cool thing is that if for some reason a device fails to protect your home, an EMP shield, one that you have installed or somebody else, one fails, and to protect your home, vehicle, or other equipment, you will be compensated $25,000 per device that fails. The company has many devices that are on display at the corporate office, having done their job of protecting against lightning. But since there hasn't yet been an EMP, there are no such devices to display. But the good news is, if you have any questions or further doubts regarding the company's insurance guarantee, you can call them directly and speak to an actual human being. And I gave her the phone number of the company, and I said, thanks for the feedback. And so, that's one of those one of those types of comments that, like, I didn't know where she was coming from on that, if she was just being a naysayer, or she just actually didn't know that, hey, you're actually at more risk of having something happen regarding lightning than you are an EMP. That's clear. And if something actually does happen to the extent that maybe she's suggesting, then, who's to know how things are going to play out, right? But that's also the same type of person that might say, well, I'm not going to grow a garden because, the zombie apocalypse, they'll just take my stuff. Or I'm not going to grow a garden because I'm just going to go take your stuff. And so there's always people who are looking at, like, the worst case scenario and looking to make an argument for something that they may know little about. And I don't know where she was going with that. I don't know what did you kind of glean from what she was saying, if you gave it much thought.
I would tend to agree with you that she probably didn't think about. She was looking at the deep end,
right,
as opposed to something more likely to happen, like lightning.
Yeah. I think that's an easy trap to fall into. You get used to thinking, well, man, what if, and that's the whole thing with the prepper movement. It's so easy to just go down that rabbit hole of, oh, well, if this breaks, then I need another one of those, and I got to buy two of those because I got, what if this happens? Well, there's always going to be a what if. You have to look at the likelihood of things happening, and then you gauge it based on what's your most logical response to that. And I don't think she had any malicious intent to what she had said, but I just thought I'd mention that. And then the other one was a brooder plate type question, where I had done a few videos a couple of weeks ago or so, and this is pretty recent. And the person was asking, speaking of these brooder plates, which are used for heating chicks, or it's also has a second setting which can go higher at 200 watts and heat like a chicken coop or something for larger birds.
Can't they also stand up?
Yeah, it can either be horizontal, or it can, you can configure it so that it's straight up and down, vertical. But what this person had asked is, says, do you use this for your adult birds? If so, I thought it wasn't good for chickens due to it making it harder for them to adapt during winters. Your thoughts? Thank you. And I'll just kind of read what I had to say to this person, because quite honestly, we don't really deal with those kind of temperatures, so it's not something we have to deal with. Somebody who actually deals with that might have a different take on all of this, but this was my take. And I said, I don't use this for adult birds, but I also don't live in an area with harsh winters. It rarely gets below 20 degrees Fahrenheit where I live. I might consider using it if temperatures were extreme and I had chickens that were not adapted to the cold. I would use it as an option when warranted, but not as a standard practice just because it's cold outside. As you point out, acclimation is important. And if chickens are provided shelter free from the elements, including drafts, they will do just fine without supplementary heating. And then I further went on to say that, egg production will suffer if the birds are using their energy to keep themselves warm. And that may not be an issue for you if your birds don't produce in the wintertime and they're not actually producing. But just understand that if they have to keep themselves warm, they're going to put a lot less energy into actually making eggs. And so that might be something that could potentially, be of benefit. Our birds lay like pretty much all winter, the ones that are the first year birds. So in the first 18 months, they're going to keep laying eggs even through the winter. We're still getting like eight to 10 eggs right now. And that's primarily coming from the 12 birds that we have that are of that age. And then we've got some older birds that are getting ready to get out of here pretty quick. So that's just something to consider. And I don't know if there's anybody that lives in a colder climate that, might experiment with that and see certain types of results. But that's kind of my take on the whole heating your coop for your birds, right? I think that they're plenty well adapted to keeping themselves warm. Even birds that are not specifically a cold hardy breed, they can pretty much do fine so long as they have a coop, as I said, that's pretty much sealed off from drafts, and it's going to keep them out of the elements, and they're not going to be getting rained on or snowed on or whatever. And
or at least up where they're roosting.
Yeah, we don't. Ours are kind of open down below. At least one of them is, but up higher, where they're at, they're protected up there from the wind and the rain and stuff, and they can kind of, be a little bit warmer up there. Where birds are susceptible, where it's really cold, from what I understand, is like their combs and stuff. So, if you had a bird like with a rose comb rather than just the comb that's like, with all the points on it, if it's a rose comb, they're going to be a lot less likely to get frostbitten on a rose comb as opposed to like your standard, chicken comb. And, if they have the ability to lay on their feet so that their feet aren't exposed, because there's a lot of downy feather on a bird. And if they're fully feathered, they're going to do just fine. If you've got problems with, some kind of a bird that maybe has got mites on it or something, and it's got some feather loss, then again, that might be something you need to address. But primarily birds don't need that. They're pretty well adapted to everything. Yeah. Dean asks, do you still like the Novogen hens? Yeah, I love them. They're really good, man. I just, we got 23 out there right now. We ordered those 25. They gave us an extra, so we had 26. 3 of them died, and we're left with 23 of them right now. And they're eating like crazy. I still have them on a 21%.
Feed.
Yeah, we're feeding them as much as they want, and that's the way that we roll, because it's best for them when they're developing to give them as much as they possibly can eat, and give them something that's high protein, because it's going to help with their growth early on. And so these hens will be laying, at 5 months old, which will put them right around the first of middle part of April. We'll probably be getting eggs starting to kick out from these 23 birds. And then we've got, but yeah, I love them, man. They're a good bird because they will continue to lay all the way through next winter. We'll still be getting like flush with eggs next winter. We've actually had to cut back a little bit on our egg sales because we can't keep up with the 5 dozen that we were selling each week. We've cut it back to 3. But still we can get, the 3 dozen out for sale plus what we're consuming here. And at the way that we're keeping our costs down, essentially we're eating eggs for free. And that to me it's what you should be doing if you're having animals, unless you're into having animals and losing money, because it's super easy to just keep going down and buying food for animals and then not expecting anything in return. And that's one of the reasons why I don't keep hens around till they're 7 years old. Sounds cruel, sounds harsh, but this is a farm, man. We're running a farm here. It's not like, this is a retirement home for chickens. It's not a bed and breakfast. And so, yes, I love the Novogens. And for that reason alone, they are a hybrid that is made to lay eggs, and they're an egg laying machine that lays a big brown egg.
A very big egg.
Yeah, it's a jumbo. It's a jumbo egg that's, 70 grams, like on average. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I love them. Let's see, you got 50 that started laying dust. We got 50 that started laying last December. They are way down and molting. So you're saying your Novogens are not laying right now?
Well, ours slowed down when they were molting.
Well,
but they continue to lay.
Yeah. Are you running them free range? Because that makes a huge difference, man. I've got somebody that has birds that we purchased at the same time, and their birds are in a coop and they're just sitting there all day and they ain't laying a thing. And we're still cranking out eggs because we put our chickens out in the chicken yard and they're out doing chicken things. And they're that has a dramatic impact on their ability to produce, being happy. If they're just sitting there looking at each other going, yeah, this sucks, man. I'm a chicken. I'm in this cage. So it depends on your environment. And I don't know if you're running them free range or what you're doing with them, and that could have a dramatic impact on that. So cool. Where are we at now? I think that's covering Q&A. Let's maybe roll into the main topic. Elusive 323, how are you? Good evening tonight. Good to see you, man. Appreciate it. As always.
Hey.
Yeah, so the title of this was The Great Migration, and there is a lot of people leaving this state. And surprisingly enough, California is yet leading the way again, leading the way in people leaving the state for the 4th year in a row. Think about that now. This is a state that is incredibly beautiful. The weather is amazing. There's an incredible amount of everything here. Culture, it's got it all. But it's also got all the bad stuff too now that's infiltrating into this state. And I think it's largely due to the mismanagement of the state. I think it's pretty hard to argue against that. But let me pull up this article here and we'll take a look at it. It's right here. Boom. So it says U-Haul. The U-Hauls leaving California in 2023 marked the 4th consecutive year the once golden state finished on top of the U-Haul's growth index, meaning more Californians rented one-way U-Haul trucks to leave the state in 2023 than residents of any other state. That's an amazing thing, man. When you think about all the people that shit talk Alabama and Mississippi, and how backwards and, I'm impoverished and what a shitty place to live, and right. But yet they're leaving this state. Think about that for just a minute. Here's what I want you guys to also think about. Think about where these people are going to. Okay. They are, let's see here. Where are we at here? Let's see. Yeah, the top recipients of Californians by order is their largest number. They're going to Texas, then Florida, then North Carolina, South Carolina. Tennessee comes in at 5. Idaho's number 6. Washington, Arizona, Colorado, and rounding out the top 10 is Virginia. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think it is, Rebecca? What do you think? Why would people leave such a great place?
Well, one is all the immigrants coming across the border that are...
They're going to Texas. They're coming across Texas and El Paso by the thousands. But people are leaving California to go to where all the immigrants are flooding across. So I don't know if I agree with that, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, we're also offering to give them free health care.
Yeah.
And pay for a lot of their expenses. And who's paying for that?
Yeah.
The taxpayers are going to be paying for that. Nothing is free.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a sad state that we have people that have caused people to want to leave here. And the people of California are leaving because they don't like certain things about this state. And I think it's not because it's, has all of the things that I mentioned before. It's not because of you can go skiing and then you can go surfing like damn near in the same day if you wanted to, or all of the diverse like geographical places you can live or own a home or run a business. It's really has it all in that sense. And I find it incredible that we're seeing this right now. And I don't know. I think that socially, yeah, this state has a long way to go with. I just think that the mismanagement of this state is starting to rear its ugly head, and what you're going to see moving forward is a person that is at the top of the list in our governor who's going to wind up being more in the forefront of politics.
Probably at the very top.
Well, I know that's what the aspiration that he has. I know that that's the aspiration that the party has, is to see him rise to that level. And they're going to do everything that they can do to see that he's going to get there. And they're going to try to whitewash the things that have been going on here and spin it in a way that makes people think, oh, he's a moderate, but he's really anything but that. And a good example of that would be some of the laws that they've just passed. And this dude has been passing laws. He's been a part of policy for a very long time, but recently, in January 1st of this year, there was a litany of different laws that were passed in this state. And one of those laws is they're extending their healthcare benefits to illegal aliens.
I guess that's what I was referring to, of them coming over and taxpayers paying for it.
Sure. It's just a article out of NPR, but it says that the state with the most unauthorized residents, and I find that a little funny because, it used to be that they were illegal aliens, and then that became offensive to people, and so they started calling them, they started calling them illegal immigrants, and then that was not cool because they were calling them illegal, and then they were undocumented, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's unauthorized residents. Like, I thought a resident was somebody who actually
lived here.
Yeah, resided in the place that they were at. These are people who are here illegally, but they're unauthorized residents now.
Right.
But anyhow, it states the state with the most unauthorized residents with state-provided health insurance is California, which currently covers about 655,000 immigrants without regard for their legal status. In January, it will expand coverage to people's ages 26 through 49, regardless of their immigration status, benefiting an estimated 700 additional Californians. Now they're referring to them as Californians. Mm-hmm. They're no longer illegal aliens. They're 700 additional Californians. Just below that says Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, Vermont, Washington, and Washington, D.C. also provide full coverage to some people living in the U.S. without authorization. New York and Washington State are expanding eligibility next year. Oregon, Colorado, and New Jersey in recent years began covering more than 100,000 people in total, regardless of legal status. So,
my complaint, I guess, is that we're not taking care of the people who live here legally.
Mm-hmm.
So why should we be paying for people who are not here legally?
Well, yeah, that's to me, that seems like just most common sense you could possibly have. But this isn't how they're framing the argument for people. What they're saying is, oh, it's about the children. You don't want to see children out on the street, do you? You got a heart for the children, right? So what do you say about that, Rebecca? Do you have heart?
I say we have plenty of children here that need taken care of.
Yeah,
and that should be your priority. That should be the front of the line. Unfortunately, that's not the way it's going to work.
Right. See, here's what I just highlighted there. It says California was the first state to begin covering immigrants regardless of their legal status, starting with children in 2016. So again, California leading the way. But look at all these other places that they've decided that's okay too. And so what you're gonna wind up seeing is you're gonna see a lot more of these people leaving California, coming into states where they believe it's a little bit less restrictive, maybe a little bit less of this, maybe a little bit less homelessness. And so that should very much tell you why there's a great migration leading away from this state, which I think is I don't know, it's just part of. No, you had.
Oh, I was going to say, however, this is going to inch its way into other states as well. It's not going to stop with us.
Right, because what I understand from what I've seen is that they, I believe that they have been shipping these people all over the country. They've been loading them up in buses and like where they're coming across the border, and then Texas is like shipping them, and Border Patrol is shipping these people to where they want to go. So I don't know how this is going to all play out, but I don't think that it's okay to just have open borders. I've heard some suggest that, like, oh, they're just lines on a map. Well, I don't understand how that makes any sense. How is it just lines on a map? Don't we have the right to say who comes into this country? Don't we have the right to draw those lines on a map and say, this is, you come in here, this is how you're going to have to conduct yourself? I think that to me is just common sense. You know, I guess the same person that would say that would have no problem with anybody just walking into their house or onto their property, right? They would be totally okay with somebody just walking onto their property. And then, you know, hey, this is lines on a map, dude. So yeah, I got a problem with the fact that, you know, we don't have sovereignty in that regard. And then we've got people in the way that are somehow being foisted up to, you know, be making these policies at another level. And I think that's kind of where we're starting to transition to. Right on. Let's see here. I missed the start. I just heard you talking about chickens. I'll have to listen afterwards. Love my chickens, and they play outside all day. Right on. Yeah, I mean that's the happiest chicken you're going to have. And I will tell you this. I've got actual evidence that that's what makes your chickens like produce for you. Where if you've got them confined into a small space and they don't get to get out and do cool things every day, hunt for food and run around and chase other chickens, that they're not going to produce for you, man. So it's pretty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know. We know on that one.
I like our chickens too. Go out, talk to them. As you've heard me say before in other episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. I try not to do that because it makes it harder to, like, you know, whack them when you got to take one out, you know.
Well,
I don't like making them pets, but we try to treat them right. And, you know, I got one out there I kind of got a soft spot for, old Squatty. I think she's going to make it through this year. I think I might have to keep her around, show her a little respect since she was a broody mama, right? And she's got a good attitude. She comes up and looks at you, and then she'll start pecking on you.
Especially if you have rhinestones on your hands.
Yeah, old Squatty might make it another year. We'll see. Yeah, so where were we? Yeah, talking about these stupid laws, man. I don't know if you guys have wacky laws in your neck of the woods, but I know we certainly do. And another law that came out real recently, like January 1st, was a law. And this is directly related to why I think a lot of people are just deciding, hey, I've had enough of this. I can't take this, man. Because all this stuff bleeds over into the public schools. It bleeds over into all of this stuff. And people that are looking to raise a family, you know, why would you want to expose your kids to this unless you agree with it? Right? But here's the next great law that's been now put into place January 1st. Major retailers in California are now required to have gender neutral aisles for children's toys after a new state law went into effect. The legislation went into effect on Monday after Governor Gavin Newsom signed it into law 2021, but applying this to retailers with physical stores in the state and which sell products for childcare or toys. Only retailers with 500 or more. What do you think?
I think it's ridiculous. I think that when a kid runs into a toy section, they see toys.
Yeah.
So I don't see the need to label. And they want to talk about, oh, you can't label this, you can't label that. Well, this is labeling. So
right. Yeah, I don't know. That's not okay with me, man. And I think it's not okay with a lot of people. There was a lot of outrage about all this sort of stuff when Target was doing this in their stores, and people were pretty bent about it. But the sad reality is that this is just kind of the foreshadowing of what's to come. And we can complain about these things, but there's nothing that we're really going to do to stop this, because this is the agenda these psychopaths are putting forth. And the more each generation becomes permissive of this type of behavior, it's going to be just accepted. Oh, it's normal.
Or okay, it's going to be.
Yeah, it's okay. You can do this, you can do that. You can determine your own, sex or whatever. You'll figure that out, later. We don't even assign that at the hospital. We'll just do that later, right? We'll let the children decide what they want to be. And this is just a bunch of bullshit that's being forced upon people. And it's directly affecting people here in California because we have to put up with it. And people that are in other states, they haven't really seen this so much yet. But again, just be aware of what's taking place around the country and be aware of what might be coming your way politically, because like I say, this Newsom dude is he's the next greatest. Yeah, he's a piece of work. Yeah, see, it's happening in your way. That's happening out your way as well, huh? Which doesn't really surprise me. There's a lot of these European countries that have fallen victim to whatever agenda these people are putting forth. It's hard for me to call these people leaders. It's hard for me to refer to them as that. They're more or less just obstacles. I look at them as obstacles to liberty and freedom, because they don't have our, people's best interest in mind. They're looking at putting things upon people that people don't agree with. And here's a perfect case in point. People think that, oh, Californians, they're liberals, they're a bunch of whack jobs out there. Well, there's a lot of that out here. Let me tell you that. I'll just acknowledge that right up front. I'm not trying to make excuses for what's here. But there's a lot of good people here too. And here's a perfect example of that. Because back in 1994, there was a ballot initiative. It was called Proposition 187. And what it was a ballot initiative to establish a state-run citizenship screening system and prohibit illegal immigrants from using non-emergency healthcare, public education, and other services in the state. And for those that are actually looking at this in the live stream, what you'll see up on the screen is you'll see a map over to your right of California. And that map only has 7 of the 58 counties in this state that didn't support this. All the ones you see in green there are where this initiative passed. So overwhelmingly, it was supported by the people of this state to say, you know what, we're not okay giving our services to illegal aliens. But it was overturned very quickly by a federal district court, and it's kind of been one of those issues that's been put to bed. And so now it's just okay for people to come here and get free health care, right? We just make it law. We just ram it down people's throats, even though this isn't something that the public really supported at the time. It was very overwhelming. It was 58% in favor of this proposition and 41% said no. And honestly, I have a question regarding anything that I see in California that's from a voting booth anymore, because of just, I think it's so rigged, such a rigged game that.
Right. I was going to ask you, do you think that picture right there of California has changed much as far as the colors?
I actually do. Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of good people here, but I do think that it's changed somewhat, but I don't think it's changed to the extent that they would have you believe it's changed. And what I mean by that is take a look at the county by county breakdown of the last election in 2020. the federal election. Take a look at that, and it's a lot more blue in there than I think reflects reality, quite honestly. I think the blue comes from specific counties, not necessarily as blue as they tried to make it, like purple and stuff. Like, yeah, I just don't think that there was that many people in favor of what happened. But again, that's just my perception, and I don't have any evidence of that. But that right there, guys, is, I guess I put that up there just because I wanted to show that, there are people here who do not agree with how things are going, but yet as time moves on, I think, it's kind of an inevitability of what we're going to see moving across the country, and particularly with these border policies that have allowed people to come here that just don't have any understanding of our laws and our culture and our values. So.
And why do you think they're coming here?
Oh, it's
such high numbers.
Oh, well, honestly, I think it's a business. I think that there's full knowledge from our government that they're coming across and they're completely okay with it. And I think that there's money being exchanged. I don't know if there's so much being exchanged that we're benefiting, but guarantee you there's money from the places that they're originating from and coming into the place they're landing. You don't just come by the millions into another country without somebody having full knowledge of that. And then all of a sudden, hey, we're just going to shutter you on up to the north, and there's no exchange of funds. So I think there's a monetary component to that. But I also think it's a component of whether or not you're providing something for people for nothing. You're giving them free stuff. That's like putting a can of cat food on your porch and expecting that in a week or 2 or 3, you're not going to have more and more cats showing up, because that's essentially what's happening. They're giving them free things. Of course, they're going to keep showing up, right? So I think it's multifaceted how all this is taking place, but it's a clear, it's clearly designed to weaken this country. There's no way that it can be done in any other way. And I fully believe, this is my personal belief, that the people that are doing this, those obstacles, as I spoke of, they don't care about people. They don't care about these immigrants, because if they did, they would have no problem with every one of those immigrants wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat as they're standing there at the border. Because I'll tell you this, that if that happened, that shit would end tomorrow.
So that's what I was going to say. Think about it. It is an election year.
Oh yeah, of course that, but this was going on before the election year. And I'm just telling you that if they were all standing there with a MAGA hat on, all these guys coming in, right? All coming from Senegal and Zimbabwe and China and all these places, they all had red hats on. Guess what? What do you think? What do you think the Department of Defense and all these other departments would be doing, right?
It wouldn't happen.
No, of course not.
My favorite line. I'm not going to say it, but
what is your favorite line?
Who built the cages?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Getting kind of ranty over here.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it goes sometime, guys. Just here kind of spouting off and giving you some flavor of what's really going on, at least through our limited view, right? But I don't know if it's as limited as we think, because I think a lot of people are seeing this. A lot of people see it and they don't care. A lot of people see it and then they just kind of look the other way. There's really nothing any of us can do. Just be aware of it. Just be aware of everything that is coming our way. Well, that's I guess about all I really wanted to say about the Great Migration. It's happening, guys, and it's coming to a state near you. And I guess what I'll say, one more thing about that, is that all of these people that might be landing in your state, it doesn't mean that they're bad people, because, well, why do you think they're leaving? It's because they don't like what they see here. And there's a lot of people that have done that throughout the years. There's a lot of people who have repatriated from where they started to landing up some other place. And I hear a lot of people kind of mumbling like, oh, I don't want people from California coming here. Well, why do you think they're coming to Idaho? Right? It's not to probably change your politics. It's probably to get away from some politics. There's been a lot of good people that have left, the West Coast and left and went other places because they've just become too untenable for them. Folks in our network, Nicole Sauce, she used to be a West Coastie. She came from Oregon. John Willis, California. Everybody's got to come from somewhere. So as they filter into your area, just be aware of that. And not saying welcome people with open arms blindly, but, give folks a chance too, Everybody's got to be somewhere. And I think we'd probably be somewhere else, maybe, if it wasn't for, as we've said before, family. That's why we're sticking around where we're at and hanging out in the great state of California, because you know what? Maybe someday things will change here politically and everybody will want to run back to California. Right? And we'll already be here. It'll be awesome. What do we got here? Lamar Davis, what's up? Says, I see people moving here to Tennessee for economic reasons. I'm concerned that they will bring the wrong kind of politics. Yeah, no, that's a common concern that I think a lot of people have that are in a place. I know when we moved, when you move from an area, and then you're there for a minute, you kind of think you have ownership. You think, oh, this is my town, this is my people, and then you see it changing, and it's hard to witness that. And we've seen that here in our town. We've seen changes that we haven't agreed with, man. And it's not really with who's moving in, but as times change, there's going to be people moving in. And yeah, I get it, man. That's a huge concern. I think a lot of people have, is just the politics that people bring with them. But again, I think those people that are coming there don't specifically have an intent on bringing California politics with them. I think they're looking to get away from California politics, quite honestly, looking to get where they have a little bit more First Amendment and a little bit 2 Amendment, right? 2A. And, we've got those things, but it's just becoming increasingly more difficult. They want to make things a lot more restrictive, and they just wound up shooting down the latest law that was passed in this state with regard to places that concealed carry weapons holders can travel to and keep their firearms. That's been shot down and been kind of restored as it should be, but they're trying all the time to change things. And I don't know. I think all we can do. What's that? You're gonna say something?
Weren't they trying to change the way you obtained a permit?
Yeah, they're making it more restrictive. Instead of on your recert, instead of doing a 4-hour class, it's now an 8-hour class. Just a bunch of BS, right? More shoot time and all this other stuff. And, those aren't the people that anybody needs to worry about, is a person who's gone through the background check and all that sort of thing. But that's not the argument that they always try to sell. And that's the way of the totalitarian. They want to take away the rights from the people and weaken them. So anyhow, yeah, I think that's about enough of that, huh? Mm-hmm. It's kind of making me depressed. Oh, man. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, guys, on the live stream. I appreciate it, as always. And, as gloomy as some of that stuff is, sometimes it is kind of interesting to talk about. It's reality, and it's good to keep informed and just be aware of what's going on around you and try to make, things better for yourself. I'm so excited every day to get up and go out and look at the opportunities that I have to make improvements. And that's what we do around here every day. It's not doom and gloom and worrying about all this bullshit that they're doing in Washington and Sacramento. That's not what we think about a lot of the times. I brought that up here on this live stream just to kind of have something to throw your way and throw some thought to. But I don't spend a lot of times thinking about that stuff. We got way too much stuff to do around here, and we're constantly moving in that direction.
And I think that the more we set it up to where we are living helps provide us with food and whatnot, then what's going on outside of that doesn't affect us as much.
Yeah. That's like so empowering to be able to know that you can grow certain things, and certain things you're not responsible or having the need to go and get. You've got it right here where you're at. That's what they really don't want you to be able to do. They want to be able to control you in a 15-minute city and have you live in your little tiny little square with your neighbors on 7.5 feet at either side of you. You know, they want people like that so that they can just come home and watch Netflix and then go to fucking work, and then they can tax 60% of your money, and then you can go back and you can do it again, and they can feed you more propaganda and keep you, committed to them, because it's easy to like, hey, we're going to have another lockdown. Hey, we're going to do this. And if you're not somebody who's thinking outside of the box with like, hey, maybe that could happen again. Maybe all the things that happened like 3 years ago, that could happen easily again. And that was just over somebody having a cold. Imagine if something happens a little bit more than somebody having the flu. It's not going to be United States, man. It's going to be on. Let's just say that. And you need to be in a position where those sort of things don't impact you as much. And so if you get up every day and you look around you and say, hey, where are my weaknesses? What is the thing that's going to cause me the biggest amount of grief if something happens like that? And then say, that's what I'm going to put as a goal for myself. And I'm going to chip away at it a little bit at a time. That's the most empowering thing you can do, because then you can look back in a year from now and you can go, man, I got that done. And then you know what else I got done? I got those other 3 things done too. Right. And then each year you do that, you're just sitting there going, yeah, man, whatever. Do your lockdown. When they did all that shit, like back in 2020, we were just kind of kicking it. Right. Mm-hmm. We're here. We're kicking it. It's not a big deal. We got property around us.
So we can go out and walk around.
We're not feeling like we're in an apartment somewhere. Like, oh God, I can't go outside. I don't know what to do. And there was people that lost their mind. They lost their jobs. They lost their livelihoods. They lost a lot of things. And they were just like lost because they couldn't interact with people. So surround yourself in a place where you can not be impacted by that if it ever happens again, because if it happened once, guess what? It can happen again. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's when something happens like tenfold, that's when we're really going to see like people freak. But yeah, just go out and try to do better each day, guys. Make yourself a little bit better. And I think we're going to wrap it tonight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Be more reliant on yourself and less on them.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. And remember, you can catch this again on the rebroadcast on the audio platform. So go check Porterhouse and Teal live on Audible, Google, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And go check out our farm store on our website. And one more thing too, I would mention before I get off here is I would also like people, if you don't mind, to go on, when you go on our website, to just sign up for our email list. We're not going to be sending you a bunch of bullshit. In fact, the people that have been signed up for the last year, they haven't seen an email from us yet. Right? It's not like we're going to spam you. We're not going to be trying to sell you a bunch of shit every month. So it's more or less just a way to kind of build folks in this community in a database so that if in fact something happens down the road where we don't have the ability to communicate in this way, then we'll have the ability to potentially reach out to you and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at. This is where we're going to be. And that's really what it's all about at this point. So go on there and just, it's on the first page, and just, click, boom, sign up for the email list, and then you'll be there. But yeah, I don't go over to these other platforms, even though that we send our content there, and it's really just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time management. And that is why these goals are set, is so we can manage our time better. Because it's, like I said, it's just so easy to get distracted. And the next thing you know, you're like 20 minutes into like Instagram or TikTok, and you're going, what am I even looking at this for? Why am I burning my time right here? You know? And so just try to stay focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
And move forward, because that's what we're doing. And I appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
For hopping in.
Yeah. We'll catch you next week. We'll see what we're doing. I don't know if we'll have a guest on or if it'll be Rebecca and I'm not sure yet, but yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Thanks again, guys.
Talk to you later.